Welcome to Doctrine and Devotion. It's a podcast that explores Christian faith and practice from a Reformed Baptist perspective. My name is Joe Thorne. I'm the lead pastor of Redeemer Fellowship in St. Charles, Illinois.
And I'm Jimmy Fowler, executive pastor at Redeemer Fellowship.
I have come to the conclusion
Here we go.
that the cities of Chicagoland, right? Chicago, the suburbs, that the public works department, whoever's running the traffic signals, I've come to understand, and I'm convinced of this, that I am not the problem, that they are intentionally provoking me.
So you're telling me there is this conspiracy.
There is a conspiracy, 100%.
Against you.
Not just against me, but against people. Here's what I've noticed. If I'm at a traffic light and I'm stopped, no big deal. That's life. Got to stop at the traffic light. So I stop, turns green, I go. But there are long traffic lights, unreasonably long traffic lights. And I know I know that they have timed them to the human breaking point. Because every time I hit the long one, like Jen and I are in the car, this is what happens.
Well, you also lack patience.
Okay, I do. But here's the thing. I always lack patience, but I never complained about the traffic light.
You've never complained.
Unless it's unreasonably long. And here's
it's what's so subjective.
Here's what's, I'll prove it. I'm going to prove it.
How long is unreasonably long?
I haven't timed it, but I'll tell you how it works. We'll be at the light. I'll notice that it's a long light. I won't say anything. I won't complain. When it finally gets to the point where it's ridiculous and I go, what the heck is going on? Turns green. Every time I say something, every time I complain, if I don't complain.
So Google is in charge of those lights. It hears, your phone hears you complain.
No. I don't think it's that. I think it knows the breaking point of the human spirit. And it waits until we break and then it gets, so I think it's timed. I think it just knows.
You think the machines are conspiring against you?
AI.
Yeah. You're telling me it's learned. I
think it's been programmed to know the human condition breaks at a certain point. And Jen's always like, why are you complaining? And I go, listen, I hold it together until it gets to this ridiculous point. I mean, can't be a coincidence. It doesn't move the moment I go, what's going on? Then it changes. Every time.
You know, the ones I think are foolish is when you're at a stoplight, right? And it's green to go. And it's green the other way, right? It's both green.
Yep.
But the left turn is red.
Yeah.
And there's no one coming.
Yeah. You know what? You want to see Jen get really mad?
You blow it.
I just turn left. Not all the time. I'm just saying I have in the past. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. It's taking forever. And it's going to be cycling through. I'm going. She's like, you don't go. I'm like, come on, let's go. It's a left-hand turn. There's no traffic. It's 1:30 in the morning. Bye-bye.
1:30 in the morning?
Yeah. You're late at night or whatever when you're going out, coming back from something.
1:30 in the morning? What are you two doing out at 1:30 in the morning?
Coming back from a CG fellowship.
Really?
I don't know. I'm just saying, like, they're traveling.
No, I want to hear.
Vacation. I don't know. I'm just saying, I remember it happened one time really late at night.
One time. Okay. All right.
Other times it happens at like noon.
Noon.
I was using the best example, like the most excusable example.
Yeah, the most excusable example that happened once.
Yeah.
The rest of them are noon.
Or 3 p.m.
Wow.
But it doesn't happen often.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I should have saved this for all access.
So let me ask you this. Now let me ask you this. Hold on. You're remembering that now.
Yeah.
Which means it happened to you yesterday.
No.
You're telling me right now.
I haven't turned left on a red arrow probably in 2 years.
Okay, but what light did you blow yesterday?
I don't blow lights.
All right, come on, Joe.
Nope.
No. Okay.
Yeah. You can wink at me all you want.
No. What light was yellow?
Well, yeah, everybody drives through
I
yellow.
don't know. So what happened yesterday that the light was yellow?
No, I just remember I was complaining and I finally went like, what the heck? And then turned green.
All right, so it happened.
But I didn't turn. I didn't blow anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wink, wink. You look tired, bro.
I didn't sleep last night.
You know what? I kept waking up too. I woke up at 4.
Yeah. I woke up throughout the night. It was...
it happened to Michelle too. Yeah. Like we're both up at 4. We're like,
Well, I did have a lot of food because you were like, I was so hungry yesterday.
Good. I'm glad you ate.
And you were like, well, there's not going to be much. And I'm like, no, there's plenty here. So I went through, I had one small plate, let everybody else go through. Once everybody went through, then I went and had another.
You know what? All right. You know what? Like, can we talk about this now?
Yeah, sure. I don't care.
All right. So as lead pastor,
Yes.
do you feel like you should lead the way to the table?
How else are you going to lead?
You know, I'm just saying, like when you're having an event, typically, we should go last.
And for the past 14 years,
as host,
I am always the last
I always
one to
go
eat.
last.
I am the last one to eat at every church event, and I frequently don't even get the stuff I like because I always wait to the end.
So this time you said forget it.
I was like, nope. First of all, Jimmy's like, all right, hey guys, time to go. And I go, all right, cool. Hey, where are the plates? Oh yeah, hang on. I'm like, oh hey, where are the forks and tongs? Like, why do you tell us it's ready if there's nothing out here to get it going?
Because it's ready.
It wasn't ready.
It was ready.
Oh my gosh.
And everyone was enjoying the fellowship of talking.
Yeah, I wanted to enjoy food. I was starving all day.
You wanted the fellowship of the food.
Yeah.
And so Joe was like, I'm ready.
Let's go.
Ready.
Let's go.
I'm taking 3 ribs.
No, I think I took one. I took 1 rib. Yep.
And then
I went back after everybody else. Yeah. And then I had I probably had 4.
Okay, that's fair game though. Yeah. After everyone's gone, that's fair game.
Then I let more people go.
Yeah, that's fair game. That's fair game.
No, I went first. I always go last.
I'm glad there was a lot of food.
And they try to make me go first. Like they always try to make the pastor go, you go first. I'm like, no. Everybody gets to go. Every church event, everybody go. And then I get there, hey, where's all the fried chicken? Oh no, that's all gone. Oh, but here we have some pimento cheese loaf. I'm like, what? Yeah, that's all right. I'm cool. I'll just stick with the Diet Coke. It's fine. I want the pimento cheese.
So yeah, I mean, here's the thing though.
Yeah.
Is that as much as I joke, and I'm still going to make fun of you for going first.
Yes. Yeah.
You led the way.
Yeah.
And you know what? Leaders lead.
Leaders lead. At least they're supposed to.
They're supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
But how one leads in the character of the leader is pretty important.
Very, very important. And we know this. We're becoming more sensitive to that need for good character in our leaders. Obviously, we talked a lot about it even in the presidential election, right? And like half the people are saying, well, Trump has terrible character, which I agree with. I know you agree with. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's any worse than Biden's character. It's just the different different forms of corruption that takes place.
Well, and everything's posturing these days.
Yeah. So it's like, I don't find good character in the last president and the current president. So kind of like hope that they at least do some good things. Come on,
give him a chance. He's got so many executive orders that he's pushing out. It's okay. He can circumvent.
Last time I checked, it was 20 something. It was 20 something the first day. First day in office.
I don't think it was 20 something. I actually thought it was 15.
Let's see. Let's look it up.
Yeah, I felt like it was 15 the first day.
I don't care how you feel. Okay.
Yeah.
How many executive orders? All right.
In day 1.
Yep. All right. Here we got a bunch of stuff.
I have 7 in my head.
Oh, no. Dude, it was...
Or 15. I have 7 and 15.
Okay, I gotta find it.
Okay,
well, I'll find it.
No one cares about this.
No one cares. No one cares about this. Let's just talk about.
I just took your thing.
Now, what about what about in the church? How are we looking when we?
Well, I think that's why you said like we're talking about this more and more often because there is this leadership crisis within evangelicalism.
Or evangelicalism. But
evangelicalism. There's this leadership crisis in the church today on leaders and their maybe their character. There's corruption. There's I would even just say individuals that are not qualified, that have been disqualified. They've disqualified themselves, and yet they still remain in the pulpit.
We've got, and again, this happens in big churches and small churches. It's not just a big church problem. But we hear about it in the big churches because they have the platform and the profile. So I mean, Bill Hybels, man, remember that?
Yeah.
Bill Hybels, like grand poobah of church growth.
Yeah.
With the OG of church growth. Mm-hmm. And I mean his character was corrupt, and his reputation is now ruined, and his legacy is forever tainted. Not that legacy matters that much, I think, in the grand scheme of things, but
I do think legacy does matter. I think for an individual, I mean, you want to run the race well, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like legacy, like some people. I guess
I don't expect that they're going to have his portrait and, in
stained glass windows of
stained glass windows of himself. And in 20, 30, 40, 50 years, people are going to look back and say, oh, Bill Hybels, like he was great. But I do think for all of us, like, and even here at Redeemer, I do want to set a legacy, right?
Yeah, I think the word is reputation, though.
Maybe reputation.
Because maybe like if you have a good legacy, that's a good thing. I guess what I'm sensitive to is that there are a lot of pastors out there who are striving to leave a legacy, and it's like, just be faithful, man.
Well, I think that's it, right? Like what I want to be remembered for is faithfulness, and even as Redeemer, that God continues to use Redeemer.
Yeah.
Well beyond us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That like to me, that to me is like that legacy of like when a church is planted, right? A lot of the drive comes from the initial team and the lead pastor, right?
Yeah.
And
out of necessity.
There's
nothing else going on yet.
Yeah. But as it transitions, that's where you really see all that work that one did for how many years, and it's still sustaining and it's still growing and it's still being utilized by God. Like I think of like Huggy Bear, Ryan Hughley.
Yes.
Right.
Hugs.
And Hugs, the church in Mount Prospect.
Yeah.
They planted that. And I do think it's continuing now under doing
Ashley.
great.
Ashley
Ashley
is not a woman.
It's not a woman.
Ashley's not a woman.
Ashley's not a woman.
He does have a woman's name,
but
his last name is Her.
Yeah, Ashley Her. Yeah. But it's a great church.
It's
a great church that's been faithful. And so I do look at that, and I don't think Ryan is sitting there going, "Look at my legacy."
No.
But I do think it's a testimony to how God used that individual to plant a new church, a new work that's being sustained, and the gospel is being proclaimed. Right? That to me is, anyways, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course, and we totally agree on that. And I think a big part of that is both Ashley and Ryan have good character.
Yes.
So let's talk about what character is, because we're not just talking about what you do. Like conduct is a part of it, but character is bigger than that. We're not talking about behavior. I tend to think about it as character being the condition of the heart and the quality of the soul that leads to ongoing spiritual health. But
say that again.
No, it's the condition of the heart,
okay,
the quality of the soul, the spiritual quality of the whole that leads to an overall spiritual health.
I like that.
I've heard it said a lot in the past, right? In fact, I was in an Assembly of God church in the early 90s. I was a new Christian, and it's like, the 10 songs where each song is five minutes long. You clap the whole time. It's exhausting. But one of the things the guy said was, it was not my scene. Not my scene. But
we wait on you, Lord.
Oh, yeah.
They got that one refrain for like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
we wait on you, Lord.
Yeah, it was. It was tongues and everything going on. But one of the things he said, and it wasn't original to him. He said, character is, what you do when no one's looking. And that's not what character is, but that is a way to get a peek at character, right? Is how do you behave? Are you just, and how do you live, and what is your heart like? That's ultimately what it's revealing. Like when no one's around, your behavior changes because your heart isn't dialed in to Christ. And so that's really what we want to talk about. We want to talk about building good character, especially for leaders, but this applies to all of us. Building good character as leaders in whatever capacity you do this, and we're going to boil it down to 3 different ways we build good character. Now, there's more to building good character.
So, what are these 3 ways?
We'll talk about. We need communion, and we need community.
Yep.
But we also do need good conduct.
Yes.
So that's a part of it. And when we talk about communion, we're speaking about communion with God, communion with Christ, or as Jesus puts it, abiding in Him.
This idea of like, from John 15, right? John 15, like abiding, you're maintaining an ongoing and that vital relationship with Christ. And it's not just by going through the motions, but you're having this ongoing and vital relationship with Christ by faith.
That's the thing. Like people are like, what does it mean to commune with God? And what does it mean to abide? When Jesus says, abide in me. That is the basic answer is you do it by faith. You can't do it apart from faith.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and read this. Let's read John 15, 1 through 11.
Do you have it or do you want me to?
Okay, go ahead. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away, and every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, that it may bear more fruit. Already you are clean because of the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not abide in me, he is thrown away like a branch and withers, and the branches are gathered and thrown into the fire and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. By this the Father is glorified, that you bear much fruit and so prove to be my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. These things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be full. Really, really good passage that we need to keep in mind as we're thinking about building good character through communion with Christ. So to abide, in a sense, it means to know and to love and to depend upon the person and work of Jesus. It is, people think abide, does it mean rest? Well, sure, it means a rest, but it means to dwell. It means to live. And the way that Jesus...
Like it's not just passive, right? Right. I think we often look at it as this passive sense of just resting or being... Letting go and let God. But there is this, like you talk about, this active, because we are called then to the means by which we bear fruit.
Yeah, that's how you're not going to bear fruit apart from this. Jesus is clear.
Yeah.
And so especially as a leader, right? You want to bear fruit because you care about people and the people that God has called you to serve. And so bearing fruit is not going to be like, oh, my personal development of piety. It's going to be the production of spiritual health and growth in other people, right? To see people converted or sanctified, to see the church healthy and growing. Yes, numerically, but spiritually too. And there is no joyful, fruitful life apart from Jesus.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that your church won't grow and get big. There's a difference, right? Numbers alone is not bearing fruit, not necessarily. There are a lot of, I'll just say, there are TV preachers out there with really big audiences, online and in person. And that's not necessarily fruit. But there is no real fruit apart from Christ and apart from this abiding. And what I think is kind of scary is that apart from Christ, he says you're useless, fruitless, impotent. You will not accomplish anything apart from me.
And so, what we need to be doing as leaders, especially, is think of what God has called you to do, and that all this work of advancing his kingdom, this work of proclaiming his gospel, this work of making disciples of all nations, it's impossible to do without Christ. Yeah. And it's impossible to do without abiding in Christ.
Yeah. I'm frequently overwhelmed with what God calls us to do and calls me to do. And it's not because I'm particularly weak, though I am. It's because what God calls us to do is beyond all of our natural capacities. It's like, well, okay, I guess some people could say, well, certainly you can preach without the Spirit. Yeah, but I don't just want to preach. I want to bear fruit in my preaching.
Yeah.
I want to see God glorified and people's lives changed. And so on the one hand, it's scary, right? Because we need this. The task is impossible. But at the same time, it's hopeful. There's promise here.
What do you mean?
Because it doesn't just say, hey, man, without me, you can't do anything. But it says, Jesus says, well, you can bear much fruit. Much fruit. So and people think yeah, but I pastor a small church, or my ministry to people is very small and it's unknown to most. Okay, that's fine. That's great.
The vast majority of churches are small churches.
Yeah.
Small rural churches that are doing the faithful work of discipleship.
Yeah.
That's your fruit. Look at your congregation. Look at their growth. Look at their love for Christ. Look at how they're abiding in him. You are being faithful, and that's proof that you are bearing much fruit.
And bearing much fruit doesn't mean that you're recognized by a lot of people. That's not the idea. So you got to look for it. You have to look for the fruit that's being born and celebrate that and rejoice in it. That you can look and see that God is accomplishing his will through your meager efforts is really encouraging. And again, it doesn't matter whether I know you're going to say, easy for you guys to say this because you're super celebrities and you got a podcast. It's the best podcast ever.
I don't think anyone
everybody
says
wants to be you.
No.
And, or they want to be with you and, because they can't beat you. And, yeah, it's easy for you to say, but the reality is like, if you aren't able to see what God is doing when nobody's around to see it, when very few people are observing it, I don't think you're going to be used in any other way. It's like you and God may have a plan for you to have a broader influence, or your influence may be invisible, but it's still very real. You know, the Moody, D.L. Moody, big beard, bad theology, but loved Jesus and used by the Lord in more ways than Jimmy and I will ever be used.
That's right.
Praise God for D.L. Moody.
Yeah.
Now, D.L. Moody had this huge public ministry, but he was led to Christ by like a shoemaker in the shoe store. Like nobody knows who that guy is.
No.
But there's no D.L. Moody without him.
Yeah.
This is what I mean.
You
never know the extent to which your fruitfulness is going to continue. You may be invisible, but the fruit that God produces bears more fruit and it continues on. So I love that promise. I think that's great. And this is where character is formed, right? Character is initially and continually formed as we abide.
So when we talk about abiding then, right? Like how then do we abide by faith? I mean, often we hear kind of that mystical sense, right? The mystical,
with Dallas Willard.
Yeah. Like
I'm not hating on Dallas Willard.
I know. But like, what does it then mean, right? Because if it's that important and that character is formed here and faithfulness is part of this and it's active, right? It's not a passive abiding.
Right.
So how then do we abide by faith?
Well, I think we see it in this passage in John 15. We see that the abiding, the way Jesus talks about it is really interesting. And it's pretty challenging because, again, like you're saying, most of us think, oh, I abide, it's passive. You just abide. What does the branch do? Well, the branch is continually deriving its nourishment from the vine. It's continually drawing. And this happens in different ways. So like in verse 7, it says, if you abide in me and my words abide in you, then ask whatever you wish and it will be done for you. One of the things here that we see is that we abide by faith through the ministry of the word as a primary means of grace. It's how we're sanctified, right? It's Jesus prays in John 17:17, sanctify them in truth. Your word is truth. So the word of God becomes one of these primary means by which we actively participate in this communion that we have with Jesus. And we say it all the time, right? We say it all the time at Redeemer. You don't always have to be in the word, but the word must always be in you. So like, you may not always be reading the Bible. You may not be doing Bible study 7 days a week, but you can always meditate on the truth of God's word and draw near to God through the ministry of the word. And
it's there that we see the gospel, right? We have the gospel promise of what we are called to in this new light that we've been given. And out of that, the gospel it should, I think, elicit this love, right? Like this love for God and what he has done. And we can't help it, right? Out of appreciation. Because, I mean, look at Galatians 2:20 here.
Yeah.
Because it says, I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Paul's always dwelling on that gospel truth.
Exactly. This love of God to save us, to reconcile us, and to bring us into this fold, into this communion with him. And it is there that we abide. I mean, it's why Jesus says in verse 9 of John 15, as the Father has loved me, so if I loved you, abide in my love. The one who abide in Christ, you abide in his love. Well, how do you know his love? It's just what you read. It's his role as prophet, priest, and king. Yeah. That we talked about on Monday, right? You see it there. So I think we abide through all these things, the word of God, the gospel itself. Yeah. And well, speaking of love, you know what I do love? What do you love? I love how Banner of Truth and Crossway not only had, provided some resources to give away for our 500th episode. Yep, for everybody. But they're also giving away some special swag to our all access listeners.
Now, explain to people what all access is.
Yeah, so we just announced it on Tuesday's episode of Banter of Truth, and so we want to let you guys all know in case you're not in the all access. So all access is it's got exclusive content. So right now you guys get 2 free podcasts a week.
Everybody gets that.
Everyone gets that. Monday and Thursday. Never going to change that. For our for our all access listeners, they receive an additional 6 episodes.
Podcast episodes?
Well, yeah, 6 episodes. Now they get, one of them is the Banter of Truth. And so that's just us kind of riffing for 45 minutes to an hour, and kind of sharing what's going on in our hearts and our lives and our churches.
Yeah.
And then every day there is a devotion. So you get 5 devotions. And right now, we were going through Colossians there.
Yeah.
Still are. And so, every morning there's a devotion there for Colossians. So you get 5 devotions and a Banter of Truth episode, and
special giveaways
like this. And so, Joe, what are they giving?
Crossway's giving away Rejoice and Tremble by Michael Reeves. It is on the fear of the Lord. Fantastic book. And Banner of Truth is coming through again with another box set. This one's different. This is the Treasures of John Owen box set, hardcover. Yeah. Now I've got the 16-volume collected works of John Owen, but I
have that too.
But I want this.
Wait, I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't have it like that.
Oh, what do you have? That's the only way it is.
Then maybe I don't have that then.
No, you don't have that.
I don't have that then.
You don't have
Darn
it.
it.
What's wrong with you?
I guess I don't. I don't have that.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm just saying I don't have it.
But you said you did.
I know. I thought I did. But I got some works by John Owen.
Anyways, you don't need to listen. We're not telling you, hey, join All Access just so you can get some free stuff. If you want to support the podcast, then this is a way to do it. You get all of the free stuff that we're regularly giving, but you will find that we're giving away some special gifts to our friends who support the podcast and allow us to do more and more.
And in a much more real sense, join so you can get free stuff.
Get that free stuff.
All right, Joe. So
we abide by faith through the ministry of the word.
Yep.
As we dwell on Christ's love in the gospel, but obedience is one of the ways that we abide.
Where do you see that in John 15?
10. John 15:10. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love.
Oh, keep
just
the
as
commandments.
I have kept my Father's commandments. Now listen, if you don't keep the commandments, right, you won't be abiding in his love, because it is the gospel, love of God. It is the gospel that fuels our faith and our obedience. So, you see this, for example, you'll see the goodness of the law.
Yeah.
And you will enjoy the work of obedience as it stems from faith. You're going to see that your best isn't enough, but Jesus will empower you to walk in his ways. We're going to talk more about this a little bit later under conduct.
All right. So next, though, we want to talk about community.
All right.
And so
communion, number 1.
Yep. Community,
number 2.
right? And it's easy as a leader to isolate yourself. We're really comfortable teaching, preaching, but it's easy to keep a distance, right?
Why do they do that? Why do leaders like reasonable reasons that they might want to keep a distance, and then bad reasons?
Okay. Well, here's a reasonable,
understandable.
Okay, this is now me personally.
Yeah.
I do struggle with at times the weight of the ministry.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think people really understand that. And so it's kind of hard sometimes for me to open up and to be completely myself, like in the sense of like sharing my struggles and my fears and my hesitations.
Yeah.
Because some people don't understand it.
Yeah.
Right. Like Joe and I are very open and honest because we both understand, like, even in our struggles and even in our discouragement, that's not a sense for us of failure.
Right.
But for others, I think sometimes they look and they kind of have this expectation of a standard of the pastor. Like, oh, they're so secure and they're not struggling. And, but we do.
Yeah.
We do. And it's so that's, I know. Okay. Now I'm painting with broad brushstrokes here because not everyone's like that.
Right.
But if you've been in leadership and you've been transparent and it's been used against you, you hesitate.
Sure.
You hesitate from then on.
It's not a good reason to distance yourself, but it's understandable.
That's it.
I would say another one
so I struggle with that. Yeah. I have to always continually push myself and say, no. Just because, something you were hurt in the past,
right,
doesn't mean you need to refrain from the future.
And that's what you need, people to push you towards it.
Yeah.
Right? Because otherwise it's just too easy. I think the other one that I think about is fatigue, right? So like ministry and leading is tiring. You can get overwhelmed. And you do need to isolate yourself at times, right? Jesus isolated himself. He would go and rest. He would get some alone time, and that's really good. But you don't ultimately isolate yourself from the people.
That's right.
Outside of periods of rest, personal times with your family, all that's good. But you've got to stay connected, because leadership is not just about communication. Right? That's what a lot of people think. Leadership is like, I'm going to preach, I'm going to teach, I'm going to write, I'm going to do whatever. It's also about community, because you can't lead apart from the community. There's got to be a relationship there. You got to know your people, and they have to know you. I mean, that's what John 10 is all about when Jesus says that he is the shepherd of the sheep.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard it said before, a shepherd has to smell like they smell like the sheep, right?
Yeah.
Like
you smell like sheep.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you. I'm taking that as a compliment.
It is a compliment.
I know you're trying to be mean.
No, I'm not being mean.
Why would you say that? You're making fun. You're saying I just smell.
No, I say you smell like sheep.
See, anyways, a shepherd, has to be in and amongst the group.
Yes.
They have to be in and amongst the flock. They have to know what's going on in the community and in the life of the members. And yes, as a church grows, it becomes more difficult, and you have to have systems in place to kind of help with that.
Yeah.
But the truth is, a shepherd that does not know the flock is no shepherd at all.
Absolutely. I mean, you know your people, you know their weaknesses and their needs and their temperaments, and you can't know that if you're not close to them. So, your role as a shepherd is to share your life, not just your teaching. And to share your life, Jimmy, you got to be accessible. So people have to be able to get to you.
Yep. Approachable.
Exactly. And I feel like those are two different things, right?
Yeah.
Because you can say, hey, I'm here, I'm accessible. But if you're a total hard case and a jerk, people aren't going to approach you because you're not approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had a number of people tell us over the years, like, wow, like I just met with a guy, really good guy, been coming to Redeemer. And he's like, hey, can we meet? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, got to meet pretty soon though. And I'm like, yeah, here's my first availability. It was a few days later. And he was like, it's really great. Like I've never been able to meet with a pastor before. Like it's like 3 months out.
Really?
Meet. Yeah. Cause he was going to like the big churches. With
Yes. Okay. Well, I mean, again,
sometimes, I can't help that.
Yeah. You can't help that.
Yeah. There's some staff member that you'll be able to meet with.
Yeah.
So accessible, approachable. I think inviting, like that means you got to take the initiative. You've got to reach out, touch base,
welcoming.
Yeah.
Right. Like not just inviting, but then wanting them to be there and being hospitable.
Yeah.
In that sense. Right. Like it's not enough just to say come and then ignore
or eye roll your whole way through the whole thing. Like, oh, great. Yeah. I'm kind of busy.
Let's hurry this up.
Yeah. Keep looking at your phone.
I can give you 10 minutes.
Yeah. You want to be unwelcoming and inhospitable. Look at your phone. And I do it. We all have most of us have a tendency to look at our phone, even if it's just a nervous habit.
Yeah.
Put it away. Put it in your back pocket.
Yep.
Throw it on a different table so that
use do not disturb for your meetings.
Yeah, absolutely.
Joe hates that when I do it to him.
Yeah, because I'll see you in a car with a bunch of friends. I'm driving by and there you are with a bunch of friends, and I'll call and it goes straight to voicemail, and then I get the text that says, "Sorry, I'm in a meeting." And I know you ain't in a meeting. I know you ain't in a meeting. I know you're in there with Andrew and Greg and their wives. And I'm like, well, what about me? I want to be involved. And then you're like, sorry, man, I'm busy. I'm like, no, I saw you. I saw you. So then I call Andrew and I'm like, hey, man, put it on speaker. I want to talk to Jimmy. And I start yelling at you for not picking up the phone. Anyways. That did happen. Weeks ago.
That was the best moment of my life.
And then Jimmy's like, I didn't want to pick up because then it would be on speaker because I'm in the car. It'd be automatic. And then everybody would just hear what you're going to say. And you didn't know that I saw you. So it would be like, I would be prepared that other people are in the car. So you did the right thing.
I know I did the right thing because I'm protecting you.
Yeah. Okay. Protecting me from being too open and vulnerable.
So part of this then is when you're sharing your life and you're part of the community, is because you need the input and guidance of others, right?
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, are you teachable?
Yeah.
Right? Are you teachable? Are you willing to learn from the congregation, right?
Yeah.
Are you ready to learn from your peers, from other
even students like the youth? You can learn. You can learn You can learn from any Christian.
Yeah, even your critics.
Yeah,
you can learn from your critics.
Yeah,
one of the things I've learned over the years is there's always a bit of truth in something.
Yeah,
and I need to find that. Now, sometimes it might be unfair.
Yeah, and
it might be overblown, but there is truth. And so trying to sift through it, because obviously there is some, for your critic, there is a concern.
Yeah.
And maybe it might be blown way out of proportion.
Right.
But
it may not even be reality. It might just be perception.
But you still got to learn from that. You still got to deal with it, because it could blow into something later on in the future. So might as well nip it now.
So, if you don't have community, then there is no context for you to learn, and there is no real context for you to have a proper level of influence and leadership, right? So again, as if you're a leader, it means people are following you, but you're only going to bear fruit in that as you abide, and you've got to abide through communion. You experience this together in community. But let's talk a little bit about conduct, because that's another aspect of character that does matter. What you do is a part of your character. Now, there's some bad theology that's floated around out there where they deny the third use of the law. Don't worry about your conduct. It doesn't matter. Jesus is your righteousness. Your righteousness is irrelevant. But conduct does matter, and the Bible's really clear about this.
Well, yeah. I mean, you even have examples of individuals being confronted for their bad conduct. I mean, Galatians, right? Galatians 2:14. But when I saw that their conduct, so we're talking about Paul, when I saw that their conduct was not in step with the truth of the gospel, I said to Peter, before them all, if you, though a Jew, live like a Gentile and not like a Jew, how can you force the Gentiles to live like Jews? Right? And so, conduct does matter. How you present yourself and what you're doing does matter. And here we have Paul, confronting Cephas, saying, hey, knock it off.
Yeah. Your conduct bears witness to your character, right? And that's why Paul says in 1 Thessalonians 2:10, you are witnesses, and God also, how holy and righteous and blameless was our conduct toward you believers. Now, I don't think most of us would be even comfortable using those words, but those are the words of Scripture. Paul wasn't perfect. He was a sinner like you and me. And yet he says, listen, my conduct towards you was blameless. It doesn't mean that it was completely without sin. It means that it was actually righteous and relatively righteous and holy, right? Because again, there might be motives in there that are somewhat mixed, but his conduct was excellent, and it was visible. People could see it.
Well, and it showed, as you're talking about, their character and their love for God, and their relationship, their abiding in Christ. I mean, James 3:13, who is wise and understanding among you? By his good conduct, let him show his works in the meekness of wisdom.
Yeah.
So by his conduct, so show his works in the meekness of his wisdom, right?
God calls you to holy conduct. Don't make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
This is 1 Peter chapter, I think it's 1. Yeah, it's
2:12.
2:12. No, I'm looking at 1:15.
Oh, okay.
But as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct. Right? I mean, it's like God doesn't say that just so that you will see that you're unholy and rely on Jesus. That's a part of it. But he also expects us to live godly lives.
Because those godly lives as well is a witness to outsiders. I mean, 1 Peter 2:12, keep your conduct among the Gentiles honorable, so that when they speak against you as evildoers, they may see your good deeds and glorify God on the day of visitation. So your good works and your conduct and how you present yourself and how you act is a testimony to the love of God and the grace of God and the salvation that you have in him.
Yeah, totally. Conduct matters, community matters, and communion matters. There's no good leadership apart from it. You won't bear fruit. And this is what we need for ourselves. It's what we should want of our leaders in local churches. And this is something that we should all strive for and encourage each other in. I know Jimmy and I and all the elders, we encourage each other in these things because we need the reminders, we need the push, and we need the cheer. Like we need to be able to say, hey man, You did well there.
Good job.
Your conduct was great.
Yeah.
Loved it. Good example for us all. So you can celebrate these things as well.
Well, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can follow us online on Instagram and Twitter at Doc and Devo, or on Facebook /Doctrine and Devotion. You can head to the website, drdevotion.com. There you can contact us. You can sign up for the email blast or hit up the store, jofostore.com, and grab some gear. Fresh pod every Monday and Thursday. We have blog post and video content over on the website.
Scholarly articles.
Peer-reviewed. For all access listeners, you got your weekday wisdom and your banter of truth. Later.